Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Wow, this is awesome. And a little bit terrifying. But thank you. As Kyle correctly identified, I am John. I'm VP of the US operation for Search Laboratory. If you're wondering why the funny British guy said it wrong, that's because that's how I say it. Every time I try and say laboratory, it sounds like lavatory, and that's not the look we were going for. So yes, we are Search Laboratory. We're a full-service integrated digital marketing agency, which means we help clients with all the channels, SEO, PPC, programmatic, social, CRO. And we have a couple of other strands to our agency. The first of that is internationalization. So we're able to execute all of these channels in over 30 different languages. We have an in-house multilingual team. International is where I've spent most of my career, about 15 years client side and agency side. And it tends to be what I speak on most, but bearing in mind I can't even pronounce the name of our agency correctly, it didn't really feel fitting for me to come out here and extol the virtues of linguistic appropriateness in a foreign language. So what we're going to focus on is the other bit that we do, which is around analytics, data science, and digital strategy. This is a brand new talk for me, so you are the guinea pigs. I hope it goes okay. Be kind, safe heckling right until the very end, if that's okay. So, in a trusted format for a talk, I'm going to start with some unbelievably obvious statements. Consumers interact with your brand across multiple devices and touchpoints. Well, thanks, John. We kind of knew that already. But this is true. The landscape is changing. And some data to back it up. No surprises here. Your data must be telling you the same sort of thing. There is increased revenue, increased number of visits from mobile devices. And for the first time in the last year or so, share of revenue from mobile has overtaken desktop for the first time. So all of this goes to mean that the landscape is changing. It's becoming more complex. There is almost an infinite number of paths that your customers can take to conversion. If we look at some of the trends that accompany this change in usage, something like clothes near me, and replace clothes with anything you like, something near me. The rise of near-me searches is increasing at an unbelievable rate. And when you stop and think about what the intent is for this, the intent is that someone searching on a device to then go ahead and make an offline purchase. And how do you begin to track that? How do you begin to plan for that? And this means it gets more and more complex, and it means it's more and more difficult for us to show value and to plan our actions accordingly when we have actions happening in one area and research happening in another. So hopefully, there is a bit of help at hand. And this is what I wanted to talk to you about today. I mean, we're very fortunate. If we work in digital, we work in one of the most measurable and trackable areas of marketing. I don't feel as though we're really making the most of everything we've got. If you kind of think about the fact that, we only use a tiny percentage of our brain, the only difference is we don't really know what the rest of the brain is capable of. With digital, we do know what's capable. We do know what is possible. But I just don't think we're using all of it. So, cue slow eye roll. He's going to talk about a study Google have done that's probably self-serving and leads to us spending more with Google, right? So, not really. I wouldn't do that. It's a waste of my time and yours. But there is this study, just by a show of hands, who has heard of the Google Digital Marketing Maturity Framework? It's like 10 people max. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. It's exactly, and that's fine. Those people who held their hands up, who's actually been through that process? Even less. So this was done a couple of years ago. And with our work with data science and clients working on digital strategy, we had been following quite a good formula. And we're a Google Marketing Platform partner, so we have strong ties with the platform. And they came to us and said, with some of our large advertisers, we'd like you to try using this framework. And we were amazed that we had never heard of it. It's not brand new. It's not fresh out of the box. It's been around for a couple of years now. And actually, we loved it. It's a really useful analysis tool, benchmark tool, and a really interesting study. I urge you to try and get to grips with this. So what it was, Google, along with BCG, looked at what large and top advertisers were doing, what actions they were taking to really increase their understanding of their data and make good decisions from it. So some of the outputs from this. The first output, consumers expect meaningful interactions with your brand at every touch point. Really important, meaningful interactions, every touch point. And here's the kicker, only 2% of the people in the study were actually really getting to grips with digital, data-driven decision-making and digital marketing. Only 2 in 100. They were pretty pleased, though, because of those 2%, they were making 20% more revenue while reducing their costs by 30%. So this is kind of a bit of a problem for the rest of us, because these guys who have mastered it, who are getting to grips with their data and making sensible decisions, can save a third of the cost while still increasing the revenue by 20%. Gives us a massive opportunity, really, really big opportunity. What it also means, if you're not doing it, you are going to get left behind. They've got 30% more budget that they can then reinvest in other channels or in the same channels again. So the good question, what are those 2% doing, and how can we do the same? Well, this is the benchmark. Working with BCG and their top advertisers, they identified 5 pillars, 5 areas of focus. Attribution, assets and ads, audience, access, and automation. I'm going to go through these. Attribution, measuring the value of each and every point of contact. This is super important. This is one of the most important areas, is getting to understand what is the value of all of your activity and the relationship between the touch points along the way. Assets and ads. Making sure, I mean, this is what marketing is all about, isn't it? Right message, right time, right place. Assets and ads, offering the best possible experience. Again, remember back to the thing they identified, meaningful interactions every touch point. Audiences, find the right people, pretty simple stuff. Identify and engage with the right audiences, find more of them, target them differently, be more specific. Access, how do we access the audiences? What channels do we need to go to? What cadence do we need to advertise to? And then finally, automation, just working smarter. There's a ton of technology out there. AI technology is not only the reserve of the super geeky anymore. Something like Search Ads 360 has really sophisticated AI that runs its bidding algorithm. So there's a ton of stuff that we can do to actually make life much easier for ourselves and to take away some of the heavy lifting. It's advanced so much. This is what it looks like. So what the benchmark is a self-assessment form. It's free to do, takes about 20 minutes of your time. I'll give you the link at the end of it. I urge you to go ahead and do it. Because it's Google, they couldn't simply have called them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we've got nascent, emerging, connected, and multi-moment. But it's basically beginner through to really, really advanced. And the report will spit out where you are on this matrix, along with a set of key actions for advancing you to the next steps. So this is how the sample stacked up. This is where that 2% came from. Only 2% of the sample that they worked with were deemed to be at this truly multi-moment, data-driven, decision-making, digital marketing focus. 7% were in the nascent or beginner stage, and then there's kind of a big block in the middle where kind of everybody's doing a little bit of something. But you can get on this as well. You can work out where you are. So this is what it looks like. This is the report. There are 5 sections and about 20 or so subsections. You fill out the form, and it will give you this report. And it will show you in there, across each of the areas, how you score. It will give you an overall score, and then what it will also do is show you how you're performing compared to your peer group, and also to the best in your industry. And it gives you, of course, your categorization of where you are, whether or not you are, I'm going to call them 1, 2, 3, or 4, because it's easier. So yeah, you could be connected. And then what it does after that is it lists a bunch of activities that you need to do to get to the next level. And there is some interpretation required in terms of what that means for your business, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. And we work with customers to help identify what that really means. You know, what are the types of projects that they need to run to sort of get to the next level. But again, the next level is just a vanity metric. Just because you get to 2 or 3 doesn't mean you're instantly going to be saving a ton of money. Doesn't mean you're instantly going to be getting more and more revenue. But what it will do is it will give you the activities and the projects that you need to run within your own businesses, that when you complete those, you'll have access to better data and you'll be able to make better decisions. The output of those better decisions is saving money and making more revenue. If there's anybody here who wants to spend more money and make less revenue, I probably should have said this probably isn't the right talk for you, but hopefully we're all on the same page. So we're going to talk through some practical steps to improve efficiency and performance. And I haven't got a ton of examples. I've worked through a couple of the individual examples within attribution and also within audience. Those are some of the most, I think, some of the most relevant. Some of the automation ones, as you can expect, usually involves buying some of the Google products. And we've also got some live examples from some of the projects that we've run with clients as well. So attribution, and this is really about data harmonization. And data harmonization is getting all of your data in one place and making sure that it all makes sense. So, show of hands, who is still getting siloed reports, SEO separate to PPC, separate to email? Yeah, quite a few, and that's kind of normal. And even working with agencies, that's kind of normal. It's possible to work with an agency and feel like you're working with 3 or 4 separate agencies if you're working multi-channel. So that's kind of what, that's kind of, you know, that's the starting point. Those who are at multi-moment, is there anybody who has got a completely automated dashboard that pulls in all of their data? Oh, they're looking so pleased with themselves as well, because they have so much more time than everybody who put their hand up first time around. So, you know, more time to actually do some other stuff, strategic thinking, getting on with campaigns. So yeah, automating dashboards, consolidating everything, and having it visible in one dashboard is unbelievably useful for making better decisions and increasing efficiency. There are some tech requirements for larger enterprises. So, for example, a larger business trying to do this, we're looking to pull in CRM data, possibly data from their analytics, doesn't have to be Analytics 360, cost data from the individual platforms, and we shove it all into something like BigQuery. And then it can be spat out into something like Data Studio or Tableau, whatever your preference is. But this is really where the interesting stuff happens. When you pull these data sources together and tie it all together, that's where the magic happens. So who's in retail? A few in retail. How much do you love your trading meetings, Monday morning trading meetings? We typically find people spend about half a day preparing for their trading meetings, which is kind of 1/10 of the working week. 10% of your time spent preparing for a 45 to an hour-long meeting. Doesn't kind of make sense, really. So we work with a couple of large retailers. This is an example of a dashboard we have done for them with a elegantly anonymized up at the top there. But this is the type of dashboard where we've pulled in data not only from all of the channels, but we also pull in things like stock levels, return rates, as well as cost of sale data. And it's all there, and it's updated in real time. And it saves a huge amount of time and effort to actually produce this type of report. And you're able to see the true value of your marketing. So talking about attribution, actually, in terms of attribution models, who's on last click? Quite a few people. And so let's just be clear. Last click is an attribution model. It's not a very good one, but it is an attribution model. The problem being, of course, everybody skews towards the final touch point. We gave a talk with Google about 6 months ago when we were talking about some of the more advanced features of data-driven attribution. It's Google's assertion, and to some extent ours as well. If you're still using last-click attribution, probably in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to be left a long way behind. I'd urge you to get on this as soon as possible. It's just not a meaningful way of looking, particularly when you're working at different channels. And then up at super advanced, using a data-driven attribution model, pulling in offline and online data. If you're in the B2B space or the lead gen space, I can't stress enough how important it is that as soon as possible, you find a way to tie your CRM data to your analytics data. So for people who use GA360 and Salesforce, there's a handy connector. If you don't do that, you don't need to worry. You don't need to be spending 15 grand a month, or whatever it is, for Analytics 360. There is a way, quite straightforward, takes a little bit of dev time, of opening up a field and putting a session ID within Salesforce, and then you can pass the data back into analytics, or you can just put the data into a data warehouse, something like BigQuery. The reason why you do that, if you drive 1,000 leads, and 800 of them don't even make it to marketing qualified lead status, it's kind of not that great. Equally, if you've got 300 that do go through to MQL, SQL, or to an opportunity status, we want to know what it is that's right about those leads, so we can look for lookalike audiences, and we can do more of the same. So that's why we really urge people to join offline and online data. Looking at some of the things on audiences. So when we look at retargeting and when we look to target audiences, the more we know about the audience, it's kind of simple, the more we know about the audience, the better. If you're only looking at one source of truth, which is their online behavior, you're only ever going to be able to react to that. So who's using custom audiences? Anybody got that type of data, using offline and online? There's a few hands going up there. So once you have a much broader idea of what that full audience set looks like, what they're doing in the different moments, then it gets much easier to do more advanced targeting. And again, we go back to this meaning for interactions at every point. Some of the things you can do, much deeper analysis of lookalike audiences. You can also potentially exclude audiences that you know would have converted anyway. So why pay for people when you know they're going to convert in a different channel? And then the final one, this is it's a fascinating one. So measuring digital campaign performance on ROI or ROAS or cost of sale. And this is kind of what we've been used to forever. You know, this is how we judge. Some people can't even do it from an ROI point of view, and that's difficult, I know. But this is right down at the beginner stage. If we were to move to connected, then you can begin looking at CPA from a customer lifetime value point of view. What this does is it elevates the conversation from a standard generics are expensive, brand is cheap type of conversation from PPC, all the way through to, I know how much a customer is worth and what I am prepared to spend to acquire a customer, because I know the lifetime value of that customer is X. When we get super geeky, we can actually predict the lifetime value of a customer from a single interaction, from a single point of contact. And this is something we've been doing with one of our clients. There's also a blog on our website which looks to predict lifetime value from first sale. If any of you are into BigQuery, either come and see me afterwards or have a look on the site. There's actually the full query written out for you, so you can copy it and you can use how you can use that query yourself. So this uses a lot of AI and machine learning to do that. But this is the client. It's a kitchen company based out of the UK, and we work with them throughout the UK and Europe. And there is no online conversion. You can't buy a kitchen online. But you can complete a form to go and meet a rep, go and see a showroom, and then hopefully buy a lovely kitchen. What we're able to do is, when they get to that first meaningful point of contact, which is to begin their form fill, we're able to pull in a lot of data about them. Demographics, proximity to store. So that's a really important one, proximity to store. On-site behavior. Any type of metric that we're able to capture, we capture. And then using machine learning and BigQuery, we have then modeled out the probability and the likelihood that they will go on to convert, to buy a kitchen. Further than that, we're also able to predict what type of kitchen they're likely to buy and their value. So we're able to predict their lifetime value. What this has allowed us to do is, after that first form fill, is we're then able to retarget them all the way through that journey, because there is always a period of inactivity in between completing the form and then going to see one of the showrooms. So we're able to target them with specific messages, maybe offer different options, different offers to push them over the edge if that type of customer is going to be worthwhile doing that for. Similarly, if we don't think they're going to convert, then we have a different treatment altogether. So this type of really advanced analysis of audiences has been unbelievably valuable for these guys. These guys have seen a 225% increase in conversion rate and have managed to cut costs by 30%. So it does work. I said this is a brand new talk. I'm running spectacularly under time. I might well give you about 8 minutes of your life back. Key takeaways. Consumers expect excellence across multiple touch points. You know, we talked about this a lot. It's true. Consumer expectations is always on the up. There's never going to be a point where a consumer, do you know what, fancy something a bit less than that. Sadly. There's technology there to do this, so the technology exists. It isn't all bought Google stuff. A lot of it is just application. And I was speaking to someone yesterday who challenged me. He was like, yeah, but why I haven't got the time to do this. You know, you've got a ton of other stuff coming at me, and I understand that. All I can tell you is that if you go through the process of doing this, and this isn't ongoing activity, a lot of these are single projects to make your lives easier and improve performance. It's worth carving out the time, carving out the projects and the budget to work on this stuff because it works and it's incredibly valuable. So tech is there to do that. And brands who do it win. Okay? In that study, 20% increase in revenue, 30% reduction in cost. These aren't tiny incremental, these are big chunks of change. Data is absolutely the key to success. I think I mentioned this. You know, we are kind of privileged to have access to all this information. And it's not like we don't know it's there. We know what's possible. There are smarter people than I who have a completely better idea of what is possible. But it's there. We just need to mine it, organize it, and then make it usable. The final one, start. Start tomorrow. Benchmark your own performance. This is a journey. It's a journey of digital maturity. Unless you know where you're starting from, it's absolutely impossible to work out how we go from one to the other. So benchmark your performance. And you do that by doing this assessment. So you'll get the slides. You can email me, john.selwood@searchlaboratory.com. Or you can just Google it. It's on Think with Google. So yeah, I urge you to do it. It takes 20 minutes of your time. And if nothing else, it will give you a really good idea of some of the projects that you can run to make your life easier. And it will also show you where you are versus your competitors. That is it. I hope that's been useful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Look, this is wildly unprofessional of me, but I have a son back in New York who's 3. This is the first trip I've taken where he's actually missed me, which is kind of nice on one hand, but it's not great. Plus, he's also feeling a bit under the weather. Everyone seems very strangely relaxed in Denver Emily, so I hope you won't mind me doing this. Do you mind if I take a 5-second video? And it would make his day if you just shouted like, "Hi, Charlie." So maybe, hang on. You will literally blow a 3-year-old's mind. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Hi, Charlie. That's ace. Thank you so much indeed. Have a great day. Cheers.